What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Laughing Coyote, and today I'm back with a different sort of video. I've never really done anything like this, and I wanted to do something like this. So here it is. I'm gonna discuss in this video the argument of all arguments in the world of cricket. Yes, I'm talking about Virat Kohli versus Rohit Sharma. Oh, and by the way, stick around all the way till the end. I have some fans sharing their opinion on this topic as well. Two incredible batsmen, both from India, but for some reason their fan base doesn't really like each other. So today we're going to take a look at their careers and figure out who might be the better player, if any, really. I think they're both pretty fantastic. So for Rohit Sharma, the hitman, Agent 45 as I like to call him, his story started on April 30th, 1987, which makes him 33 years old in Nagpur, India. The first time he appeared in the IPL was in 2008. He was picked up by the Deccan Chargers, but that was not the first professional game that he played. It was actually on the international level, the ultimate level for any cricketer. He debuted in ODI on the 23rd of June in 2007 against Ireland, and then a couple of months later in T20 he debuted 19 September 2007 against England. This is T20 International, by the way. So when he was picked up by Deccan Chargers in the IPL, he was already a professional player. On the other hand, you have VK, now known as King Kohli, Super V, Super Virat, VK, whatever, many different nicknames the both of them have. His story begins on November 5th, 1988, which makes him 32 years old, 1 year younger than Rohit Sharma, in New Delhi or Delhi in India. Now, his professional debut was in the IPL when he was picked up by RCB, the team that he's still playing for, as a youth member. Because he hadn't debuted professionally before that, unlike Rohit, he was picked up as a youth player, and his contract was actually not very lucrative. After doing a bit of research, the money that he was given comes out to USD 30,000 in the first year of IPL. Now compare that to Rohit Sharma's first year IPL. He was given USD 750,000. That is a huge difference. Now that's just the start. If we fast forward to today, well, Virat Kohli, the guy who was only worth 30,000, is now worth 17 crore Indian rupees, which in US dollars is 2.3 million, making him the most expensive, highest paid player in the IPL today. Now, Rohit Sharma's stock have also gone up. He is worth 15 crore Indian rupees, which translates to around about 2 million US dollars. So not that big of a difference today, but there was a huge difference when they first started. And that difference obviously was because Virat was not a professional when he started IPL. Rohit was a professional when he started the IPL. Now, let's take a look at some stats. We'll start off with the IPL with Virat Kohli. He's played 192 matches in the IPL, and he's only batted 184 times in those 192 matches that he's played, all for RCB, by the way. Rohit Sharma, on the other hand, have played 200 games, and out of those 200 games, he has batted 195 times. So that's 195 innings for Rohit and 194 innings for Virat. Rohit Sharma has been not out 22 times, whereas Virat has been not out 2 times more, 30 times in the IPL. Rohit Sharma have scored 5,230 runs in those 195 innings that he has played. Virat, on the other hand, have scored 5,878 runs. His highest run scored 113, averaging 38.2 with a strike rate of 130.7 with 500s and 39 50s. Sharma, on the other hand, with a high score of 109 not out, the only time he got 100, by the way, that makes it only 100, but 39 50s and an average of 31.3 with a strike rate of 130.6. Very similar numbers in the IPL, at least, with the main difference being that VK has got 4 more hundreds. Then we will move on to the T20 International, where Virat have played 90 matches. Out of those 90, he has not played in 6, which makes it 84 innings that he's batted for, not out 24 times, and scored 3,159 runs, with the highest score that he's ever scored is 94 not not out, averaging 52.6 in a T20. That's ridiculous. At a strike rate of 139.0. Like I said, high score of 94, which means no hundreds, but he has scored 28 50s on the international front. That's ridiculous. We shift over to Rohit the Hitman. Now, he's played 111 matches. Out of those, he's batted 103 times. That makes it 103 innings. 15 times in those 103 innings, he was not out, scoring 2,864 runs. Highest amount of runs of 118 runs, which means he has gotten 100. Well, he hasn't just got 100 because he's averaging 32.5 at a strike rate of 139. He's got 400s total and 22 50s. Again, now here, Rohit takes the lead in the hundreds column, whereas in the IPL, Virat was ahead. 22 50s from him as well. Then we'll move on to the ODI. In ODI's 253 matches played by Virat, 244 innings played, 39 not outs, 12,162 runs, with the highest run scored in one innings by him, 183. That is pretty ridiculous. With an average of 59.3. Unbelievable. At a strike rate of 93.2 as well, almost 100 strike rate, which is very impressive. He's got 62 50s and 43 hundreds. Compare that to Rohit Sharma, who started his career earlier than Virat, by the way. He's played 226 games, have gotten to play in 219, batted in 219, that's 219 innings, 32 not outs, 9,168 runs, 200, yes, you heard it correctly, 264 is the highest amount of runs he's scored, ladies and gentlemen, and that's not even the only time he scored 200. He scored 200 in ODIs 3 times total. That takes his average to 49, a little lower than Virat, and a strike rate of 88.9, a little lower than Virat, 29 hundreds, again lower than Virat, and 43 50s, again lower than Virat. So in the ODIs, to me at least, Virat seems to be the clear winner with a bat. But then again, those 3 individual double tons, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? Now let's move on to Test, and I think this is where the main difference comes in. Virat Kohli have played 91 matches, that makes it 193 innings, 10 not outs, 7,490 runs total, with the highest amount of runs he's ever scored is 254 not out, with an average of 52.4, strike rate of 57.1, but then again it's Test, strike rate doesn't really matter, 27 hundreds and 25 50s, 2 more hundreds than the amount of 50s he has got. Rohit Sharma have only played 38 matches, 68 innings, 8 not outs, 2,615 runs, with the highest amount of runs he scored is 212, which is very impressive. An average of 46.7 at a strike rate of 58.4. Again, strike rate doesn't really matter, 700s only and 12 50s, and this is what I mean. Test is where you really get to then separate the two from each other, Virat being the clear winner there. Now there is something to be noted in Test. The reason why I'm saying the difference becomes real huge between these two is not just based on these stats. There's another stat that is to be noted, that is matches played in overseas conditions between the two players. Virat have played 47 matches and he has averaged 44.36. That is very impressive in foreign conditions. Now we move over to Rohit Sharma, who's played 33 test innings in overseas conditions, and he's averaging only 26.32 runs an innings. That is very poor in a test, although in the recent test series in Australia, Rohit Sharma was actually pretty decent. He got a 50 and got over 40 a couple of times. Now then, let's talk about some of the memorable moments these two players have given us on the field of cricket. We'll start off with the IPL, something that you wouldn't really expect from an opening batsman. In 2010 against Mumbai, Rohit Sharma gets a hat-trick. Yes, you heard that correctly. Rohit Sharma has a hat-trick under his name with the ball. An opening batsman who's not a bowler gets a hat-trick in the IPL in 2010 against Mumbai, the team that he's now playing for. At the time, he was playing for Deccan Chargers. Then in 2012, when he was still a very young player, against KKR, scored 109 runs of 60 deliveries. Now keep in mind, Kings 11 Punjab at the time had players like Jacques Kallis and Brett Lee. As a young Rohit Sharma facing, in my opinion, the greatest Australian pacer, Brett Lee, and scoring 109 of 60 deliveries. That's incredibly impressive from Rohit Sharma. Another big milestone that Rohit Sharma achieved in the IPL was in 2015 when he scored 98 and he was not out against Kolkata, KKR. But what was so important about that innings was that he completed 3,000 career runs, only the second player at the time, right behind Suresh Raina, and we all know how great of a player Suresh Raina is, so he was in good company there. Then obviously on international level we have the 3 double tons that he has, the 264 which he scored against Sri Lanka in Kolkata in 2014. The first time he ever scored a double ton was in 2013, which was against Australia, 209, 158 deliveries in Bangalore. And the more impressive thing about that is he got his 50 of just 70 deliveries, but then he gets his 200 and 158 deliveries. He really ramps it up. And in the last double ton, which was in 2017, 208 runs not out against Sri Lanka and Mohali, 13 fours, and a whopping 12 sixes. Now those are some performances that he's put up that will forever be remembered. You know, double tons in ODIs wasn't even a thing that people imagined. Tendulkar and Sehwag got it once and people thought that was going to be it. No one else was ever going to get it. This guy got it 3 times. That's ridiculous. But let's take a look at some of the smaller runs that he scored which have had a huge impact as well. I mentioned one earlier in 2007 in the T20 World Cup final against their arch nemesis. This is a very young Rohit Sharma against Pakistan in the World Cup final. I mean, does it get any bigger than that? I do not think so. He scores 30 of 16. Now remember, in that game, India was struggling. It was Gautam Gambhir who scored a lovely 50, but after that, nobody really did anything. And then came Rohit Sharma with his 30 of near 200 strike rate, giving India a fighting chance and then going on to win the World Cup. Another very impressive innings that he's had was 137 not out against England in Nottingham. Now that's overseas condition. England is one of the toughest countries to bat in, and he performed stupendously well. That was in 2018. Now let's take a look at some of the performances that Virat have put up that have forever remained in the fans' hearts. We'll start off with the IPL. In 2016, against Kings 11 Punjab, now known as Punjab Kings, he scored 113 runs, which led to RCB getting a comfortable win over a very strong Kings 11 Punjab at the time. In 2019, he scored another ton against Kolkata Knight Riders, and that game also ended in a victory. And do I need to say it? It was obviously because of his 100. In 2016, he scored 108 not out against Pune in a successful run chase, showing courage, leadership. Then let's roll it back a bit, go to the international level. In 2012, he scored 133 runs not out of 86 deliveries against Sri Lanka in Hobart, overseas conditions, that's Australia, which turned out to be the highest chase ever in the history of India. And with 133 runs not out, Virat was very much the heart of that innings. Again, in 2012, in the Asia Cup against Pakistan, against Mohammad Amir, who was getting the ball to move around like a snake, he helped India win that game. Yes, he got out, but the umpire did not give it out, and he got a second chance. But he made the most of that second chance. Many players are given second chances, and they do not make the most of it. In 2014, against Sri Lanka again, he scored 139 runs. He was leading from the front and got his team the victory. In the 2016 World Cup, he scored 82 against Australia in the Super 10 and secured a place for India in the playoffs of that year's T20 World Cup. And before I continue, I want to say huge thank you to Chinmay, guy who helped me out with some of these numbers. So thank you very much for helping me out with these. Now those are some of the individual performances from the two superstars. I do want to mention them together as well. I mean, if you guys remember that game against West Indies where Virat scored 140 and Rohit in the same game scored 150, I mean, they were so dominant. and just took the game away together from the opponent. There's another game that I actually just remembered. I didn't really had that planned, but I just recalled it. It was a T20 game against England. I believe it was a decider, the last T20 that was going to decide who wins the game. And in that game, Rohit Sharma, I believe, scores 100 runs, and Virat Kohli also scores about 50 or 40 odd, something like that. And again, another display of them two, the duos, coming together and giving India the victory. So it is important to understand that I think both of them together probably are the best choice rather than one or the other. Now let's take a look at an aspect of these two careers which is the most debated, and one of the reasons why Rohit fans say that Rohit Sharma should be the one leading India rather than Virat. Despite Virat being the most successful Indian captain ever with 36 test wins, unfortunately, he has not won any trophies for India. Virat have won 64 ODIs for India, which makes him the fourth most successful ODI captain. And with 27 wins in T20 International, he is the second most successful captain for India in T20 Internationals, right behind the great MS Dhoni. If you look at his IPL career as a captain, he has won 125 matches, which is quite a lot. But again, with all these wins that he's got in all three formats, he has been unable to convert that success into silverware, into trophies. The trophy cabinet in RCB is empty, unfortunately. Despite having splashed big bucks almost every year, even this year, they are unsuccessful in securing a trophy, which leads many Rohit fans to say that Virat is cursed. Now, I personally don't believe that. Those are obviously just opinions, but I would like to know what you think. Now, let's contrast that with Rohit Sharma as a captain. Now, keep in mind, Rohit Sharma is the most successful captain in IPL, but that's just it. Not on international level, and partially because he's never really gotten a chance to be the captain on the international level. I mean, we got to see him in the final few overs against England, and his captaincy, I'm not gonna lie, it was very impressive. But regardless, he is the most successful captain in the IPL with 5 IPL trophies in just 8 years. 2013, 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2020. Last year they won it again. With numbers like that from Rohit Sharma in the IPL, it does beg the question, should India give the captaincy to Rohit Sharma instead of Virat? Even though Virat is the most successful captain, like I said, that success have not translated in the ICC events, unfortunately for India. My personal opinion, I think they're both very good batsmen. They're also both very, very good captains. Yes, Rohit have had more success with winning trophies, but that's in the IPL. The international level is entirely different now. You could say, well, how many trophies have Virat won in the IPL? And I would say, you got me there. He's won none. So maybe there's a case for Rohit Sharma being the better captain, but when it comes to being the better batsman, I think it's Virat who takes the cake in all three formats. But Rohit Sharma does have that flair though, that edge, those 3 double tons, that's no joke. In the end, I think we as fans of cricket, and specifically fans of Indian cricket, should just be happy that they're alive at a time when you've got 2 of the greatest batsmen in the world of cricket at the moment playing for the same side. Because think about it really, I mean, when Rohit plays well, who benefits? You guessed it, India. When Virat plays well, who benefits? Exactly, India. So this argument seems a bit useless to me in the end. But that's just what I think. I do want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. And at the end here, I want to take the opinion of some of the fans. So I have asked some of the people on my social medias, on Instagram, send me videos of their opinion about these 2 players. By the way, if you want to participate in stuff like this, well, follow me on my social medias, innit? Links are in the description. But here we go. Let's hear what the fans have to say. These are fans from all around the world. India, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere.
I prefer Virat Kohli over Rohit Sharma with the bat and as captain of India. He's just got that aggression. I love his personality. He's just such a cool guy. And he's a father now, so I love it.
Virat Kohli, I think he's a class player. Is he vital to the team? No. Captaincy-wise, yes. Rohit Sharma in white ball cricket, he's absolute class, and depending on his result, the result of the game will be decided.
I love them both, to be honest, and I just find these social media wars between Rohit fans and Virat fans just absolutely silly and unnecessary, but each to their own. I mean, what's better than them combining to win us trophies?
Virat Kohli is pretty good, but if Rohit Sharma's won 4 IPL titles, give the man some captains.
Hey guys, I'm Aditya Prakash, winner of LCT10 League. And in between Rohit and Virat, I think Rohit is a better batsman because he got some class like of Sachin Tendulkar. And even once Virat Kohli admitted that he got 5 to 6 seconds extra than other batsmen to play a shot. Thank you.
Well, when it comes to the comparison between Rohit and Virat, according to me as an Indian, I think it's not fine to compare these two players because at their day, they can be the best and win matches for any team they are playing in the IPL or in international cricket. That's all. Don't compare these two players.
Man, I love that last guy. He said exactly what I said, which is the argument of these two players, for Indians at least, is kind of useless. For me, a Pakistani, for an Australian, for a Kiwi, it makes sense to compare those two and compare and contrast their careers and have a bit of a debate. But for Indians, does it really make sense because they're both playing for the same side? Well, let's be clear about one thing though. Rohit Sharma and Virat, the duo, is together the most successful duo in the world of cricket. Both of those together are deadly. I think in the coming IPL season, as well as the 2021 T20 World Cup, will be a real test for Virat Kohli's captaincy. If India manages to do well, get to the final, Virat might keep his captaincy because, let's be honest, this is in India. So this World Cup is India's to lose. It will not be easy. And there's the World Test Championship final coming up against New Zealand as well. So this year is actually one that could turn out to be a great one for India. You have the T20 World Cup, you've got the Test Championship final, and then you've got IPL coming up as well. So Virat has a lot of chances of squishing this debate once and for all by winning at least one of those trophies. I think even if he wins one of those trophies, I think that debate will go away. But if he doesn't win any of them, well, his position as a captain might be in jeopardy because that will only help Rohit fans' debate of, you know, Virat being cursed and never winning a trophy. So let me know what do you think about that. That was the video, a little something different than I normally do. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do drop a like, subscribe, share with others whom you might think will enjoy this kind of content. And let me know which other two players to compare. I've got a couple in my mind already. And one last thing, regardless of who you're a fan of, regardless of whether you agree with me, disagree with me, just keep it respectful towards me, towards other people who are watching these videos, and towards these two players, because they're both greats of cricket. Having said that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, have a nice